Hey, Foot Clan. Before we start today's show, I just wanted to remind you about the Ultimate Draft Kit. If your draft is still coming up and you think you're not prepared, you can get prepared with the Ultimate Draft Kit. And did you know that FantasyFootballCalculator.com, an independent website that we use for average draft position, they ran a survey in 2017, and they wanted to figure out what draft tool most league winners have in common. You know what they came up with? The Ultimate Draft Kit. This is everything you need, and even if it's last minute, you can get in there, you can get our printable, tiered cheat sheets, and be ready to dominate your draft instantly. Go to ultimatedraftkit.com and get it today.
Hi, this is Kyle Rudolph, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, man.
What was that?
Oh, man.
Yes.
I told you.
Start the show over.
I don't have much left. I needed help. I needed some Ricky Seals-Jones in that intro.
Oh, it would have been better, that's for sure. Run it back.
Right before the show started, I asked Brooks, I go, does my voice sound right? And you know what he told me? He told me a lie.
He's Brooks.
He told me it sounded beautiful. Brooks, you lied to me.
I would never.
He's trying to trick me.
I am a judge.
In fairness, your voice sounds all right when you're speaking. It's when you do that other. What was that other thing?
Oh, it was like you're at the dentist.
Open your mouth.
Yeah.
Well, but the show is here. We're here. It's Tuesday, August 28th. The Fantasy Footballers back again, fresh off of. Well, this is why, Mike. We had a very intense, exciting, bold live show on Friday night. You heard it yesterday on the podcast.
Hope you bought the 3-ply.
Here in because of the hot takes, hot snakes reference you made.
Mm-hmm.
Good start to the show. We have
Be kind to your rear.
an exciting podcast today. Sleepers, values. We also had the opportunity to talk to star Pro Bowl tight end Kyle Rudolph. We'll share that interview with you at the end of the show. We asked him specifically what player is kind of flying under the radar for fantasy owners on that Minneapolis offense.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. And what else do we got going on? We're gonna get into some of the reaction to Week 3 of the preseason. We'll do that a little bit today, and we'll give you some preseason Week 3 lessons tomorrow. Some conclusions we've made from watching games, not just week 3, but
the preseason is over. No starters, unless it's punishment or otherwise, or looking to get traded or something, play in Week 4.
You mean like Royce Freeman?
Yeah, there's one. There's
Royce
one
Freeman's
starter
gonna play
who's
in
going
week
to play
4.
Week 4.
Yeah, Amir Abdullah's going to get a ton of work, I hear, which is
he's going to get cut.
the last work he gets as a Lion.
I think he's going to be cut.
He might.
But we'll get into that on tomorrow's show. Today's all about a sleeper and a value pick. Each of us will bring one to you. These are guys that maybe we don't perfectly agree on with one another. These are not the same as the consensus sleepers and value picks that we have in the Ultimate Draft Kit. But we'll share our own sleepers and values on the show today. I'm excited about these, but let's start with the quick question. What Week 3 performance left you scared? What left you scared? Because we spend the offseason talking about players, and then it's kind of like all is revealed in some respects in the preseason. You get to see the truth about certain situations, especially in preseason Week 3 when starters get the opportunity to play together for an extended period of time. So, Mike, what left you the most scared in Week 3?
I got shook.
Did you now?
I got shook by
Earthquake test.
with my training. You could, or what is it? Whatever. The Bills. The Bills shook me to the core. They are going to be so bad. Holy crap. The Buffalo Bills have me trembling. And this is mostly a call for LaShawn McCoy, who's dealing with a sore groin. That's not what this is not what I want to hear about Shady McCoy at this point of the fantasy football season, because all he has this year, yes, he is slippery. He is the slippery fish, so he has that going. But all he has is volume. And if his body is not ready to hold up to volume, it's going to be a really long, disappointing fantasy football season from Shady McCoy.
No, I mean, Josh Allen had a bad start. He was running for his life. I mean, he's 5 sacks in the first quarter. As far as I know, the play calls were snap it to Josh Allen, and then he runs a diagonal towards the back right corner of the field. I mean, he was running for his life.
We've highlighted, and specifically, Jason Moore has highlighted the Buffalo Bills offensive line decimation over the offseason, and you're never really sure, can they recover from losing all those starters? So far, the answer is a resounding no.
Yeah, it did not look good in week 3, that's for sure. I'm not convinced that Josh Allen will start after Peterman's performance in that game versus Allen's. And Peterman may be the one that gets to be beat up first.
And, okay, let's say Peterman is the starter. I'm still shook.
Yeah.
Because that's just turnovers that are going to happen, and then they're going to have to throw the ball. It's going to be a garbage time fiesta.
So you got scared. I was ultimately scared by the Colts' offensive line performance. Andrew Luck is good. Andrew Luck has the ability to kind of circumvent the problems up front to a degree. I mean, he ran the ball several times in this preseason matchup. But the difference between what I saw from the Colts offensive line and the 49ers offensive line in this game, it was night and day. Alfred Morris had gaping holes, and Jimmy Garoppolo had endless amount of time. I was afraid for Andrew Luck. I was afraid for this Colts offense. I wanted to watch this game and say, hey, who looks better, Jordan Wilkins or Christine Michael? For a chance to say, in week 1, we're going to have to pick a starter at running back for the Indianapolis Colts. They're going to have to pick a starter. And I wanted to say, wow, the numbers didn't look good for Jordan Wilkins. What did he look like on film? He didn't have a chance. He didn't have an opportunity. Christine Michael looked just as terrible because he was being met 2 feet in the backfield. That scared me. The offensive line in Indianapolis made me think, without Andrew Luck, this is a bottom 5 team after what I saw. With Andrew Luck, it's probably not much better.
Yeah, let me ask you this. What was worse, their offensive line or their defensive line?
Yeah, it was a coin flip. It was kind of a hold my beer situation.
They just play the same guys?
Watch that.
Are they trying to save some monies?
Iron Man. We go both ways here.
Yeah.
No, look.
We're way under cap.
For me, the one that scares me, that has shaken me, is a guy that I really like. And that's why it scares me, because I've been high on this player. And all the problems that existed last year that I have been hoping change, all but one, I should say, don't appear to have changed, and that is Joseph Mixon. Joe Mixon, that offensive line, all 3 of these teams could be bad, and all 3 are going to be based on that offensive line. Mixon cannot get it going on the ground. He's still a great player. He looks electric in the passing game.
It's very interesting that they're lining him up outside so often. I think that's a product of having not a lot of options outside of Green. It was nice to see John Ross pop. But behind the quarterback, Mixon hasn't looked good.
No, he has not. And I think a lot of that has to do with the offensive line. Now, there's great news. Week 1, they play against the aforementioned Colts defensive line. So
made Alfred Morris look pretty good.
Might come out just fine week 1, but it worries me. Now, I had predicted, because of the, they upgraded their left tackle. They switched around some of their offensive line. It should be much better than it was last season. We just haven't seen it yet. The only thing that still gives me hope in Mixon just being much better for fantasy this season than last season, other than his talent, is still the fact that last season the amount of plays ran, and specifically the amount of rushing attempts for the Bengals, 377 as a team, which was absurdly low, so far below. I mean, we're talking like 50 carries below the next lowest total in the Marvin Lewis era. It's going to rebound as far as play calls come.
All right, I encourage everybody out there who are fans of the Fantasy Footballers podcast, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/thefantasyfootballers. Inching towards the 100,000 subscription level, Jason.
Sprinting, my man. Sprinting.
And here's the
towards.
thing. We just did our League of Record draft on Saturday night. And a lot of the times, listeners, whether you're on Twitter or email, you ask us to talk more about our League of Record draft. We had the opportunity to to bestow the punishment that we do each and every year on the last place person, which is if you finish last in our League of Record, we spin the wheel. Each owner spins the wheel of water, and that is our tool of punishment for bets. And you hear us make water bets on the show all the time.
It's a free app. You can get it.
Yeah,
wheelwater.com.
we just threw the wheel of water on an app, and every owner spins it, and then the last place owner gets 11 cups of water poured on them in ridiculous ways, and then they sit and draft wet. And we recorded all of that, and we're going to share it with you, and it'll be shared on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
So definitely check that out and subscribe over there. Twitter, you can follow us at the FF Ballers. Mike is at FF Hitman.
Yeah.
Still verified.
Yeah.
At Jason FFL, at Andy Holloway. Definitely check those out. Mike has a new article on the website.
Oh, I certainly do.
It's called Mike's Ultimate Value Hit Squad for 2018. He identifies the best value in every round.
Yes, and exactly that.
Guns blazing.
I point out those players that I love, and check it out before ADP gets broken again, because we're at that time of the year where people can shift in value overnight. They can jump or lose a round.
And I don't know if you two gentlemen know this or not, but my article is also coming out very soon.
What?
Yes, sir. I'm talking about those players that I'm standing on an island against, the ones that I am different than you two gentlemen, and I'm making my case.
Okay.
Go to thefantasyfootballers.com.
What would be the one thing you want with you on a deserted island? Let's say you get one food item.
Yeah, honestly, as a first thing, keep in
It's
mind,
a
I would
dessert
say,
island?
Yeah. I'm going to say banana cream pie.
Okay.
10 banana cream pies.
Yeah, 10. 10 would be better.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, Mike, you have to translate money into fantasy value here. The Giants have made Odell Beckham Jr. the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL.
Get paid.
5-year, $95 million contract, $65 million guaranteed.
Love it. I love it so much. Congratulations, Odell Beckham.
I want to tear my ACL now.
Yeah, that's why he
Yes.
got $65 million. Congratulations to Odell Beckham. Congratulations to the New York Giants for not screwing this up.
Yeah, and congratulations to every wide receiver signed to a contract after this date.
Well, that's just the name of the game. The cap goes up, the money goes up.
But I would be happier if I signed a contract next year than this previous year, because this resets the market for the wide receiver.
What?
The Jags are placing wide receiver Marquise Lee on injured reserve. This was a preseason week 3 devastating injury. Marquise Lee gone for the season. Doug Marrone, I listened to the press conference. He said he's comfortable with the team's receiving options. They asked him about Dez Bryant.
I was going to say, is that a message to Dez?
It is. They asked about Dez
we're
Bryant.
good, Dez.
Right now they have, for those out there who are following along, trying to discern the value in Jacksonville at wide receiver, Keelan Cole, D.D. Westbrook, Dante Moncrief, DJ Shark.
And Austin Seferian-Jenkins as well. They have a lot of weapons there to catch the ball. They had, you don't want to say you had room for injury, but they can do the next man up here, and I don't think the team is going to miss a beat. Matt Harmon's perception was not very kind to Marquise Lee in the first place, and I did not ever really think he was a great wide receiver. So the opportunities will be there for others. And
all right, top 3. Rank them right now. End of season, the top 3 wide receivers, fantasy points from Jacksonville. Your best guess right now, right here.
Well, we're going to talk in depth about who I've got number 1, Keelan Cole, in a minute.
We can save it.
I'm going Keelan Cole, D.D. Westbrook, Dante Moncrief.
Keelan Cole, Moncrief, Westbrook.
I'll go with what Mike said.
Yeah.
All right, the Browns. Tyrod Taylor. Or Tyrod Taylor.
Yep.
Sorry. It's many
all
years.
right.
Many years.
We'll get there.
Dislocated pinky. We talked about. I insinuated about this. We didn't get to talk about it as a news item on the live show. He's practicing. He should be fine. Josh Gordon has been activated.
Activate!
He will not.
The Eagle has landed.
Start. He will not start week 1. He will play. He does have a hamstring tweak as he's getting back. Josh Gordon, does the not starting hurt your fantasy willingness to play him in week 1?
It definitely creates doubt, a cloud of
They're
doubt.
at home against the Steelers in week 1.
We do have evidence, though, that Josh Gordon can come from the sofa into an NFL game and torch one of the best DBs in all of football in Casey Hayward. This is what he did last year against the Los Angeles Chargers. So it's a situation where I project this. Gordon will not start because he was not at training camp. Hugh Jackson's doing the good coach thing. He's sending a message to the rest of the team that says you got to be here. So maybe the first snap, maybe the first drive. But then you got to put your best players out on the field, and that would be Josh Gordon.
Jay Ajayi has been sidelined for now 8 days from Eagles practice with a, quote, lower body injury. I don't know if he's feeling jealous about the kind of ambiguity that exists for Alshon Jeffrey and Carson Wentz, and he wanted to get involved in that. But right now, this is a concern because we don't know that situation. I mean,
look,
Corey Clement had missed time too.
Yeah, lower body ambiguous injuries are not fun in the first place, but when you combine that with a player who has, the degenerative knee problems, you go, okay, is this that? Because if it is, this could be serious. I will say
no signs that it is yet.
I will say I've made some claims out there on some other running backs. If Corey Clement is available, he shouldn't be available in the first place.
Sure.
He should have been drafted, but he's worth a pickup. On our MVP episode, we talked about Darren Sproles being able to be more involved, and obviously he'll be involved in the passing game. And even Wendell Smallwood, look, if something happened to Jay Ajayi, Wendell Smallwood, we've said for years, look, he's a Jag. He's just a guy, but he'd be just a guy behind a great offensive line and a great offense with opportunity. And so, you could do worse than having that kind of a hope.
That's fair, and he's looked okay in the preseason. Will Fuller tweaked his hamstring. They expect him to play in week 1, but yet another little injury for Will Fuller. It's a problem. Andrew Luck suffered a minor foot injury in the game. Nothing major. Would play if there was a game on Sunday. Something to monitor, but he should be okay. And then there were a number of tight end injuries. Evan Ingram, concussion. Luke Wilson, a knee injury.
Yeah.
Hayden Hurst, a stress fracture in his foot. He's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks at least. Implications for these 3 injuries? I saw Evan Ingram drop in a lot of weekend drafts simply because of the concussion, which is silly, I think.
Yeah, because All News has him progressing at the normal rate through the concussion protocol. He's on schedule to play week 1. So if you were able to get in on that Evan Ingram value, because I saw the same thing, Andy. I had a few drafts this weekend, and it was it's like round 7, and Evan Ingram is on the board. And people are just getting great deals for tight end value.
All right, Mike,
what is happening?
I know how close you were to this guy, but he's retired. Eric Decker.
BDD!
He retired in the way that players retire now on a written statement on Instagram.
Also, in Patriots camp.
Most players, wide receivers, go to Patriots camp to retire.
Here's what's
Reggie
crazy.
Wayne did it.
I had not seen the Patriots Week 3 preseason game prior to the news that Decker was retiring. So I already knew. Then I'm going back watching film, and I'm watching this game knowing that this guy has already said, yeah, I'm going to retire from the NFL, and there's this deep pass where he catches it. He doesn't seem like he needs to go super far out of bounds. He catches the ball like 2 yards out of bounds, just looks dejected, and I'm going, this guy's about to retire. He's done. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, so there, wide receiver situation.
Philip Dorsett.
I'm going to bring this up. Well, Philip Dorsett, yeah. Philip Dorsett, Chris Hogan, and then Cordero Patterson is going to be involved early in the season, even if he's not heavily involved after Edelman. I mean, there's only so many guys. So
yeah, no, I completely agree, and this is part of why Gronk is my MVP this year.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think he's just going to
add some.
Would you say there's some bad vibes in Patriots?
No, not for Gronk. He's going to tear people's faces off.
Wow, the face there.
Literally, face off.
Oh, man, Nick Cage action, getting that face off. Hey, we're going to get into some
for hours.
We're going to get into some awesome sleepers and some values, guys, that you can find on your waivers if your draft is over or, if your draft is still going, people to target. But before we do that, you need to realize football is here.
Woo-hoo!
Okay, the wait is over. That means it's time to hop on FanDuel and start making your plays for Week 1 and for their awesome new Survivor contest that is going on. You have to check it out. It's completely free to enter. It is the largest. It's $250,000 in rewards for the Survivor contest. It's the biggest free Survivor contest ever. Here's how it works. You pick a team to win each week. So you got to get your Week 1 pick in right now. And you can't pick the same team twice, and that's it. You just last as long as you can. Pick the team that you think they're not losing this week, and if you last long enough, you're going to be in that money, in that $250,000, completely free to enter. It's really exciting. FanDuel is a ton of fun. It makes the games more fun to watch. To get into the free $250,000 Survivor contest, just go to FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers. That's FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers. Plus, new users are going to get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. So come play with us over at FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers.
We want to thank Pristine Auction for sponsoring today's show. The only place you need to go to get your autographed sports memorabilia. We got the money man. We got the newly paid Odell Beckham. His signed jersey is up on the wall. Luckily, I was able to grab that for not a lot of money because that's what's happening at Pristine Auction. Every single day they have hundreds of new things up for grabs. You're getting deals. You're getting steals. Like a Lev Bell signed Steelers jersey. All of these auctioned recently. $87. A Keenan Allen signed Chargers jersey. Just $78. The aforementioned Corey Clement. Grab his stuff before he breaks out. Signed Eagles logo football. Just $31. You never have to worry about the signatures from Pristine Auction. We know these guys. They are good people. They work with only the best autograph certifiers in the business. Check them out at Pristine Auction. That's PRISTINE auction.com. You make a completely free account. You let them know that the Fantasy Footballers sent you. All bids are free. You only pay for what you win.
All right, let's move on to sleepers.
Sleepers.
That's nice. That's nice, Mike.
It's a little Zeppy.
So we've each got a sleeper.
Zep in your step.
We want to talk to you. Speaking of sleepers, people keep messaging. They do all off season. I get it because you're joining leagues and things like that. Where do you play? You play on Yahoo? Do you play on NFL? Do you play on MFL? Do you play on ESPN? I'm telling people they should check out Sleeper.
You
got to check because the Sleeper app. Years ago, it was just breaking news, and we talked about it then. I mean, those guys over there. They got that startup mentality, so there's always updates and stuff on the
Smart guys.
Very smart, but you have to check it out now for the leagues because I'm seeing stuff in there every single week. It's just better designed. Like, I was importing draft results on ESPN this past weekend, and I still can't believe I have to do that by hand. Like, it's just a silly process. And Sleeper, I logged in there this morning, and I saw two scoring options that – because a lot of times people want to do unique things in their league. One was, I know you hate kickers, Jason, but if you have kickers in your league, they now let you do 0.1 point per yard above 30 yards. So if you give 3 points for a kick, and then you do 0.1, 0.2 for every yard, I thought that was pretty innovative. The longer the field goal, you get 0.1. And then they let you punish quarterbacks if they give up a pick six versus just a pick. So if you're getting into that pick six range, you can punish them. There's just something new, and there's a lot of dynasty and a lot of trade-related stuff that is more unique and better built in Sleeper. So you got a Sleeper section. You might as well mention the Sleeper app. It just impresses me because you want to see people actually moving forward in that area. All right, my Sleeper, Ricky Seals Jones, tight end for the Arizona Cardinals.
You felt a little less enthusiastic today, Jason.
So it's because it's my sleeper and not his.
Yeah.
All right.
To me, when I see what's going on in Arizona, you have a lot of unknown behind Larry Fitzgerald in the pass-catching space. Larry Fitzgerald, David Johnson, you know they're going to get theirs. But Christian Kirk, Bryce Butler, Chad Williams, J.J. Nelson, oh my goodness, you live to drop passes, J.J.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But I don't see a lot of clarity behind Fitz and David Johnson. And what I do see is a very accurate Sam Bradford that is presently healthy in that offense, and a Ricky Seals-Jones that is running routes pretty much every time he's on the field. This was a guy who was a wide receiver throughout his entire collegiate career, a 5-star recruit, a pass catcher by nature, and I think he's going to end up a favorite target for Sam Bradford.
Yes, he will.
In the beginning of this season, and he's going basically undrafted. I was the last person to draft a tight end in our League of Record draft, and I ended up with Ricky Seals-Jones, and I'm cool with it. And then Graham Barfield, friend of the show, he went out and tweeted a couple of very interesting things about Ricky Seals-Jones. One, basically saying he deserves a lot more hype as the late-round tight end because the Cardinals have 271 targets available in that offense. He's played on 87% of first-team snaps in preseason, and they opened the season against Washington. The Redskins have given up the 4th most, 3rd most, and 8th most yards per game to tight ends over the last 3 years. I think that he is a
fix that.
Absolute sleeper. Teams can start him week 1. You can go out there and get him and start him week 1. I think Ricky Seals-Jones is going to, and he flashed last year. I mean, he had opportunities. He scored touchdowns.
4 games of over 18 yards of reception.
The team just likes him, and they need him. You know,
Yes,
it's not like a tight end that's got a bunch of talent, but you're stuck behind 3 or 4, 5, 6 pass catchers. You know, ASJ. Like, I like ASJ in Jacksonville. I don't see a pathway to him being a week-to-week guy. At least I see the pathway with Ricky Seals-Jones.
Sure, I think that's fair. And while Mike McCoy has had, you know, Antonio Gates and great weapons, he has also utilized the tight end position over the course of his head coaching and offensive coordinating. So there are a lot of things pointing towards a quality breakout year for Ricky Seals-Jones. I mean, look, you want to talk sleepers, usually a good way to target great sleepers are look for undrafted rookies who really showed you something that year. Because, look, the NFL draft community, they put in all this time, they do all this work, and I'm talking in the NFL, the scouts, but every year they get things wrong, and they make it up by going out and signing these guys that went undrafted who break out, and that's another one of my sleepers. That's where I'm going. I'm going with an undrafted free agent, wide receiver, who broke out the second half of last year, whether you realize it or not, Keelan Cole. We talked about him with the injury to Marcus Lee. I mean, he is now has the opportunity to be the number 1 wide receiver for a team, and he's going in the 14th round. Even after this injury, he'll get a couple rounds.
People are mad about Keelan Cole. They might say that he's rising.
Oh, Paul Reiser reference. I like it. Here's a little bit that you might not know about Keelan Cole. Okay, first of all, he went to a powerhouse school. Ever heard of Kentucky Wesleyan College?
This Westleton.
Sounds made up.
This is why he was undrafted. He went to a small school. Can you even trust it? Obviously, the competition must have been, I don't know, inferior because you've got a guy who for 3 straight years, here's his yardage, 1,516 yards, 1,345 yards, and 1,400 yards. Here's his touchdowns. 21 touchdowns, 17 touchdowns, and 15 touchdowns.
So dominated.
He dominated in college. It was inferior competition, but you can't argue that he wasn't dominant in college. And then he gets brought into the NFL, undrafted, works his way through the practice, through the, between the Sundays weeks, gets on the field. And what does he do when he's on the field? You might not realize, but the second half of the year, his target pace was over 100, and it was 114 targets. That was his pace the second half of the year. And if you just look at the last 5 games where they really started getting a connection going, this is a little ridiculous because he had some touchdowns, skews the numbers. But over the last 5 games from week 13 on, you want to take a guess where he was in the wide receiver ranks?
Weeks 13 on, I'm going to guess number 10. That's my guess.
hot guess.
I'll go higher because Blake the Snake was the number 2 quarterback.
And
in
he
that
had
period.
the number 3 wide receiver.
makes sense.
Keelan Cole was on fire. So the point is not that, he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver.
It's that he's done it.
It's that he can do it. He now has the opportunity with Marquise Lee injured, and he's who I would take my shot on because he's shown it in college. He's now shown it for a small sample in the NFL and has the opportunity.
If there's something that exists that's called a safe sleeper, Keelan Cole feels as close to that as possible right now because of the circumstances surrounding Lee, the fact that they need to lean on some people. And Moncrief is new, right? Keelan Cole was there and has the rapport. I like it. I still think it's going to be a week-to-week thing where some weeks you're happier with a different guy, but
Still, he's a super late-round guy. You're not drafting him to immediately plug into your starting lineup.
Yeah, you don't have to draft Cole until at least the double digits.
All right, the guy I want to talk about, he's also a wide receiver who's going currently in the 11th round on Fantasy Football Calculator. That's Alan Hurns.
Yeah, Dallas' situation is so similar to Jacksonville's, and Hurns went in the last round of our League of Record draft.
Which you can think whatever you can think whatever you want about Alan Hurns,
and I will.
Good. I'm glad. But he has the opportunity to be the number 1 wide receiver on this team. Des Bryant and his 132 targets are gone. Jason Witten and his 87 targets are gone. Bryce Butler only had 23 targets, but they're gone too. Alan Hurns could be the number 1 guy, and here are players who are going in front of Alan Hurns in the draft. Rookie DJ Moore. Rookie Calvin Ridley. Sterling Shepard, Kelvin Benjamin. These are wide receivers who are in worse situations.
You would not take Alan Hurns over Kelvin Benjamin.
Over Kelvin?
No way.
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
That's stupid.
How is that stupid?
Because Kelvin's the guaranteed 1, and Hurns can go anywhere from 1 to 3 behind Gallup and Terrence Williams. It's stupid.
But the guaranteed 1 for a worse offense.
Yes.
What happened to all the hate for Dak Prescott and the offense?
Well, there's concern.
You think there's no guarantee that Dallas' passing offense is much worse than Buffalo's?
Oh, did Buffalo?
Do you want an Alan Hurns versus Kelvin Benjamin
Yes, I
water
do.
bet?
Put it on the board.
Water bet.
That offense at Buffalo is going to be atrocious. Atrocious. And we've actually seen competent play from Dallas. Now, they're not a pass-first team, but that doesn't matter when you are the number 1. And Dak is flashed.
All those names you mentioned were totally fine, but throwing Kelvin Benjamin in there is strange to me. Very strange to me.
It's strange to me that he is going
I think
a full
they're
round
similar.
and a half in front of Alan Hurns. Sure, the situation is definitely similar, but
Who's the 1 in Dallas?
right now it's Alan Hurns.
On the depth chart?
I don't know in the depth. I don't have the depth chart in front of me. I can look, but to me it is Alan Hurns. There's such a tremendous opportunity there. And he's an actual good wide receiver. He's had a season of 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. I know Kelvin Benjamin has been a touchdown machine, but that was a long time ago. So I believe in Alan Hurns far more than I believe in Kelvin Benjamin. Kelvin Benjamin, I fully believe, will just be a clogger of your roster bench, and you'll just hold on to him.
Wow.
And go, man, when the bye week comes, I'm going to be so happy that I have Kelvin Benjamin. Ah, crap, I still have him, and I missed out on waiver wire pickups.
I can see the arguments for both sides. I could see the argument to taking Allen Robinson, who could be the one for a better offense.
What about
over
Allen
Kelvin
Hurns?
Yeah, I'll take Allen Robinson over both of those guys.
Allen Hurns,
Well, there's no
Kelvin.
doubt. Yeah, we're going to talk about.
But I side
Kelvin.
with the Kelvin side. I definitely, if I was on that position, in fact, I have been in that position where I had to draft one of those two guys, I chose Kelvin.
Well, we're going to talk about Kelvin in a minute.
People are. That's my point.
But Kelvin's my value on today's show.
Okay.
Because he's a 9th-round pick, and he's the guaranteed number 1 on that team. We'll get into that. Okay, so I have no problem. I have no problem with Hurns. I think Hurns is a sleeper. I just don't know if Gallup emerges. I don't know if Williams emerges. Goodness gracious, they don't have a tight end situation that I like right now. They're going to miss Witten. They're going to miss Witten a lot. Blake Jarwin looks like He's competent at best, and then Rico Gather's probably going to get cut. That guy was playing in the fourth quarter of the last game.
Yeah, they
balls bouncing off his chest.
They don't seem to like him.
His awareness of the football is the problem. He's enormous, and he's a big guy, and I think he could do stuff, but he's not aware.
He's still never caught a single pass in an NFL game. So
Is that true?
I believe that is true.
You believe, or you're just wait? You're just throwing it out there. Now your backup is. Oh, I believe that's true.
I declare it. It is true. He's only done work in the preseason.
All right.
He's a big boy, but you don't get fantasy points for being large.
That's true.
All right, let's move on to values.
Values.
By the way, I don't know why I do that sometimes. Just so excited. Yeah, you have your value hit squad article that's released, and you can go read it and then get a value in every round. We each picked out a value. Might as well start with Kelvin Benjamin. Look, you said some of the things that are true about him, which is he's a red zone talent, right? He's enormous. He's looked pretty darn good in the preseason. And I don't care if it's Peterman. I don't care if it's Josh Allen. I don't even care if they only throw for 200 yards a game. I mean, he's the number one option. He'll be the most targeted option. The talent, I believe, of Josh Allen, his ability will, he'll force the ball downfield, and he's got a wide catch radius. I mean, if you have a guy, say what you will about Josh Allen. I know this was a bad start compared to the first two. You need a guy with a wide catch radius. He has the comp that Josh Allen is like Cam Newton, which a lot of people like to make. Cam Newton found a home in the arms of Kelvin Benjamin. And Kelvin Benjamin is going in the 9th round. I snagged him in our League of Record draft. I was extremely happy about getting him where I got him. And there's no competition at all. Corey Coleman might not even make this roster. Charles Clay has never surpassed 500 and something yards on this team. Kelvin Benjamin is just locked and loaded. I mean, we were going into last season, and there were people hyping up about Quincy Enunwa being the de facto number one on a bad Jets offense. Like, you just got to take the targets and receptions and know that it's better than having a third or fourth option on another team.
Yeah, I mean, if you want proof that we believe it, you just look at the fact that in our League of Record, you drafted him, and in the Listener League draft, I drafted him. It's not that we love Kelvin Benjamin or think he's talented. It's that
the value.
The value he represents for where he's going in a draft. It is people have been burned by Kelvin. People have made a lot of fun of Kelvin. He's not the fastest. He's not the best route runner. He's just a big guy, and so you kind of look down on him. And because of those narratives, people don't want to draft him. They don't want to hear when they draft him someone else in the draft room go, "Oh, have fun lumbering down the field with that guy." But the reality is he's going to get targets. He's going to get targets around the end zone if the Bills can ever get near there. And, for where he's going, I agree, Andy. He is a value. My value is a really easy, obvious, buy-the-dip guy that should absolutely – I mean, you want to talk – I don't even need to tell you anything else about this guy other than this. A couple weeks ago, he was a 4th-round selection. He's going in the 4th round. People want him. Gets a little nicked up. He's banged up. He's going to miss preseason. Okay, he's back now at practice, so he's ready to go. You're not worried about him missing, and he's in the 8th round. That is the definition of a value. He was a 4th rounder until he got injured. He's no longer injured. He's an 8th rounder. I'm talking about rookie running back, who I just threw some shade on rookies for the Patriots, who I just threw some shade on at the
consigliere.
My fitness consigliere, Sony Michel. That's what fantasy football is about. It's about price.
You said it, buying the dip.
Value and buying the dip. And, regardless of my they're not mutually exclusive, right? In the 8th round, Sony Michel, whether or not he's a top 15 back, is a value. You've got a guy who is a first-round NFL draft pick. That's some serious capital to spend for a team that has been historically great and needs him. With some of the injuries and the suspensions that the team has had, they want him, they need him. That they have the coaching staff to utilize him. That's why he was in the 4th round. And so, yeah, buy the dip. If you have not drafted yet, he's back in practice. He's healthy. Get him.
Yeah, his price is about to
Yes,
go up as well.
You get him now, or he's going to start. Yeah, I mean, he'll be back in the 4th round. Well, he probably won't get back up there because I doubt we see him in
probably get up to like the 6th round or so. My value that I want to talk about, who I think is one of the ultimate values at the wide receiver position, and that is Kenny Stills, wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. You have kind of the obvious things that are there. Jarvis and his 161 targets are gone. Devontae Parker has the broken finger. He has still not been cleared to catch as of yesterday, and my sources are reporting that is a very important part of the wide receiver position. And on top of that, Kenny Stills has actually been good. He's been usable for fantasy football. Last year, he was a wide receiver 1 or 2 in 31% of his games. You may not realize this because the games aren't as big, but that's the same percentage of usable games as Julio Jones and T.Y. Hilton last year. And Kenny Stills is now the number 1 guy on this team.
And he's a good wide receiver.
Yes.
Mike and I have loved Kenny Stills forever. I mean,
yes, I do believe that he is a good wide receiver. In 2016, he had over 700 yards and 9 touchdowns. Last year, almost 850 yards, 6 touchdowns. Those are not elite numbers, but this is a wide receiver going in the 10th round.
Kenny Stills or Kelvin Benjamin?
Kenny Stills.
Man, I don't get it. You see this, right, Jason?
I
you
see
that the lack of logic behind this?
But I also...
Why do you keep picking, like...
Here's the thing, though.
Guys that aren't guaranteed to be the one. I mean,
don't...
do you like the Miami offense?
So was Kenny Stills the number 1 on his team last year?
No.
And he had over 100 targets.
I know. I like Kenny Stills. I just don't understand. You make all these comments about the Bills. You disparage them overtly on the show today.
Yes, they're going to be really bad.
And Miami, you don't like Miami, do you? We've talked a lot about Miami's offense.
More than Buffalo.
But Stills, Amendola, Wilson, Parker, Drake, 5 options on a team that you don't like very much.
Well, yes, but you're then completely throwing out Shady McCoy, who will be the target leader for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, and they actually have a competent quarterback.
Shady McCoy will not be the target leader over Kelvin Benjamin.
I
don't think so.
I think he will.
Here's the thing. I have Kelvin ahead of both Allen Hurns.
I'm not. I just don't get it. I want to talk about it. This is what this show's all about. It's not about just going through the motions.
Right.
It's about talking through these logic points and disagreeing. And that's all I'm doing is saying I like Kenny Stills as a pick here. He's the safest possible option there. When we were in our League of Record draft, every single person passed on Miami wide receivers because nobody knew what to do. It was kind of like when you had a choice of a Miami wide receiver or drafting someone else, people always chose someone else the whole draft. I think Stills went in the supplemental rounds of our draft.
But that's not always the wise thing to do. Sometimes Mike gave a tip early in the offseason of get your hands dirty in these murky situations.
Right.
Because someone does come through, and that's what I was going to say is Allen Hurns, Kenny Stills, and Kelvin Benjamin, they're all within 6 picks of each other in my ranking. So that,
sure.
you just got to value. I think it's it's one of those team things too where you go, do I need safe? Do I need upside? Do I those type of things come into which I would take Kelvin over both those guys, but not by much.
Okay. I mentioned it earlier. By the way, I guess I should run those back real quick. Kelvin Benjamin, Sony Michel, Kenny Stills. And then our sleepers were Ricky Seals-Jones, Keelan Cole, and Allen Hurns. You can see more of them. All of our consensus, sleepers, breakouts, busts, and values in the Ultimate Draft Kit at ultimatedraftkit.com. I mentioned it earlier. We were really excited this year to partner with the American Cancer Society and their Crucial Catch program, which is in association with the NFL, to donate a portion of every Ultimate Draft Kit sale to the Crucial Catch program, to give back with the Ultimate Draft Kit product. And so a piece of that is we had the opportunity to talk to some of the ambassadors for that program, including Kyle Rudolph, and ask him some questions both about Crucial Catch and about fantasy football. I want to share that interview with you guys now. So let's go ahead and talk to Kyle.
You talking to me?
All right, the fantasy footballers are excited to welcome in 2-time Pro Bowl tight end of the Minnesota Vikings, Kyle Rudolph. Kyle is an American Cancer Society ambassador, and supporter of their Crucial Catch partnership with the NFL. Welcome in, Kyle.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So since partnering on this end with the American Cancer Society and Crucial Catch, we have been happy to learn that they are not only helping lead the charge on breast cancer awareness, but that they have expanded that initiative to other types of cancer as well. What inspired you to get involved with Crucial Catch, and what should our fans know about it?
Well, a little bit about my background. My younger brother was born with neuroblastoma. I was about 15 months old at the time, so my family had to change things very quickly around our house and adapt to having a newborn with cancer. And so I've always been very passionate about pediatric cancer. My brother is now 27 years old and a cancer survivor. My family was very fortunate. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. And through a lot of our work at University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital, we've gotten to know a lot of families that have been on the other end of that. So not just pediatric cancer, but cancer as a whole doesn't discriminate, and it affects people of all walks of life. So it's something that I'm very passionate about and try to do everything I can to support.
Yeah, we heard over here that at training camp recently you surprised several different types of cancer survivors with Vikings tickets. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was awesome, on behalf of ACS and myself to have, I think we had over 10 survivors and their families out to practice during training camp. Got them hooked up with field passes and got them nice and close to the action. Then afterwards, I was able to surprise them with tickets to our Crucial Catch game this coming October. So
wow.
I'm looking forward to having those families, the patients, the survivors, and their families down to U.S. Bank Stadium for our game.
That's awesome. We're a fantasy football show, so our listeners wouldn't forgive us if we didn't ask you a couple of fantasy questions. So I'm curious, Kyle, do you play fantasy football, or what are your thoughts on fantasy as a whole? We've asked this of a number of players that have joined us on the show.
Well, it's amazing because, you think back, fantasy football has really taken off, say, the last 10 years or so, and the popularity of fantasy football, it's kind of drives fandom throughout our game, and no longer are kids growing up as fans of their team where they live. They're fans of their fantasy team and players.
Right.
I've been around fantasy football my entire life. My dad started with his buddies from high school as seniors in 1978, a fantasy football league, and they still have it going to this date. So I've been around fantasy football my entire life. I know how much it affects our game and the fandom around our game. It's kind of what rules the roost nowadays.
It's true, and I imagine you went a few rounds higher in your dad's league than maybe some others.
Yeah, he actually didn't even draft me.
Oh!
It's a keeper league. Yeah, it's a keeper league. So, my dad had Dan Marino his whole career, Peyton Manning his whole career, a number of players his entire career. So obviously in a keeper league, for the most part, your roster's pretty set, and you're just picking guys here and there, rookies every year.
Yeah.
And one of my dad's best friends had to take me because my dad took someone else. So,
oh my goodness!
I think since then he's traded for me, and I just hear about it when I don't score enough touchdowns because it's a scoring-only league. It's old school. They don't do PPR and yards and catches and all that. It's a strictly touchdown.
Yeah, I guess when you got started back then, that's what people were doing, and they've kept it that way. What's it been like working with the new quarterback, with Kirk Cousins this year, and what are some things you're excited about there?
And Kirk's been a great addition. He's a guy that's come in. Obviously, he's had a ton of success throughout his career in Washington, and he came in day one and really showed us his work ethic, his attention to detail. He's a natural leader. He doesn't have to try to be someone that he's not. When you're the franchise quarterback, you're going to be a leader of our offense and of our team, whether you like it or not. A lot of times guys are kind of forced into that role, and it's something that comes very naturally for him. He's an extremely hard worker, and it's been fun. Nobody's a bigger competitor than he is. He truly tries to win every play and period that we have in practice, and we go against a pretty good defense every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that a lot of our listeners are, us included, are very excited to see how the Vikings season transpires. Let's get you out on this one. Is there an offensive player on the roster that has impressed you in camp that maybe some people in the fantasy football community don't know about or hear about enough?
Well, I mean, I'm biased, obviously. I'm around our guys each and every day, and I feel like we have just so many playmakers, on the outside with Diggs and Thielen. Then you go to the backs, and everyone's talked about Dalvin coming back off the surgery, and he's worked extremely hard and got himself back to a level, not many guys ever reach. And, he's a special talent, but I think one guy who kind of gets lost in the shuffle a lot is Latavius Murray. Mm-hmm. Latavius was coming off an ankle surgery last year and, had a bit of slow start to the season, but Latavius looks, as good as I've ever seen him, versus competing against him, also seeing him every day in practice. So, obviously Dalvin deserves a lot of attention. He's done unbelievable things to get himself back to where he is. But I look forward to Latavius having a big year as well.
Yeah, that's a great tandem in the backfield. We really appreciate you joining us today. And for more info on how you can support Kyle and the American Cancer Society with Crucial Catch this season, go to cancer.org/crucial catch and get your own personalized prevention plan using the Defender. Because when it comes to cancer, offense is the best defense. Thank you so much for joining us, Kyle.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
All right, special thanks to Kyle Rudolph for joining us on the show again, sharing that story with us, an important cause, and we're proud to support the American Cancer Society with the Ultimate Draft Kit. Everybody who's purchased one, a portion is going to that program. And, again, it's interesting. I'm a big Latavius Murray fan because I just believe a lot in the confidence of a head coach and the confidence of a staff. Sometimes that supersedes anything else. You could say all you want for fantasy about Dalvin Cook and wanting to get every carry, but to me, he is an RB2, and that's the ceiling because I think Latavius Murray is going to be used and involved, and he's going to protect Dalvin Cook from himself maybe in staying healthy and being involved in a really, really good offense.
Yeah, I don't think we should lose sight of what Kyle's saying, though, of Dalvin was first. Dalvin was best. He was, he's gotten back to a level that a lot of guys don't even get to, but yes, Latavius Murray is undervalued in fantasy drafts as well. Hey, everybody, do not forget to enter the FanDuel Survivor League. You're running out of time to do it. If you're not a fantasy expert, then FanDuel is the place to play. It's a $250,000 Survivor contest. Look, I'm throwing out my pick. I made my week 1 pick of the Arizona Cardinals. They're playing Washington. They're at home. I think it's a good one because I'm not going to pick the Arizona Cardinals again later. And that's the thing. You pick one team each week. You can't reuse them. So get in on that free $250,000 Survivor contest. Just go to FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers. That's FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers. And if you're new to FanDuel, they're going to give you a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit. Come play with us at FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers.
All right, I think that does it for today's show. What else do we got going on this week? Tomorrow's episode, we'll have some preseason lessons. We'll probably get into some average draft position risers and fallers. A lot of drafts taking place between now and the beginning of the season, which is now just, 10 days away? 9 days away?
Depends on when you're listening.
You gonna be watching football this year, Mike?
Tonight.
You gonna be watching some football? Yeah. Maybe,
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We've got some new TVs hooked up in the studio.
Yeah.
Make sure Mike doesn't miss anything.
Hey.
You get a little panicky when you miss something.
I certainly do. And speaking of FanDuel, and if you're going to be playing some DFS, the Fantasy Footballers DFS podcast is relaunching
Oh, yeah.
this week. Go search for it in the Apple Podcast. Make sure you are
How
subscribed.
much does it cost to listen to?
It is free. The
That's a good
podcast,
price.
like this podcast, is completely free. Go get that subscription on. Get ready. The episode will drop this Friday.
Yeah.
Wow, the confidence is amazing. I can't wait for Friday to listen to the Fantasy Footballers DFS show.
Is he really unsure of when it's coming out?
It's Friday now. It's Friday now. Now that sometimes you got to say that on the podcast.
Are you recording
to get
that
it done.
tomorrow?
Yes.
So that stars you, the fantasy hitman, the verified hitman, And then you've got Ben Cummins.
Yes.
And you've got Chris Meany.
Yes, a DFS powerhouse. We're very excited to bring the show back.
Yeah, people who play on FanDuel, DraftKings, on Draft enjoyed that pod last year. It's a nice opportunity to kind of get a download every week. Give yourself the best odds of having success and competing week to week. Yeah, that's a good reminder. A lot of good shows this week. We'll be into week 1 stuff next week. I'm excited, guys. I have to play Jason's Powerhouse League of Record team week 1 next week.
Man, I'm going to win a championship.
Jason got a lot of likes and retweets when he posted his roster. Didn't mention the fact he had 4 first-round picks.
Well, he kind of did.
I said I sold out last year to go all in this year, and that's what I did, and that's what I'm doing. And look, I say this, and this is true if you're listening. You don't win the fantasy football championship at your draft. Stay with us. No, I'm just saying you don't. I do. I already did it. You guys could all leave.
He was full Scrooge McDucking it. He walked out of that draft, climbed the ladder, and dove into his pile of gold. I mean, the only thing you have to decide is how, what to do with all the points on your bench week to week.
I'm gonna dive into them. I'm gonna print them out in paper and dive in.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that you have a team that if you just randomly switched out your bench for your starters, you wouldn't lose any points anywhere. It's troublesome.
I'm okay with it. I can have Sony Michel and Amari Cooper on my bench.
We'll see. We'll follow along with your League of Record team of dominance and see what you have to do over the course of the year.
We play each other week 1, and I'm so afraid I'm going to lose.
It would be so great. Joe Mixon against Indianapolis. I'll take you out. Draft.com/ballers. If you are going to go play on the draft platform, use that code. And then a reminder that you can go to draft.thefantasyfootballers.com if you want to mock draft, get grades from us. We see those all over Twitter. We'll give you each individually a grade, and you can check that out as well. All right, I think we're wrapping it up. We're wrapping, Mike.
Absolutely. Foot Clan, I hope you crush those drafts. I hope you crush them in the future if you're still to draft. And we will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.